Welcome back to Data Center News Asia. You can tell from James's snuggly sweater that it's cold in Australia this week.
Yeah, the weather's been pretty dire this last week in Sydney, raining pretty much every day. Got soaked several times. Not what you expect when you come down here.
Yeah, but the market's pretty hot if that makes you feel any better.
Oh yeah, well that's how I've heated myself up. Just thinking about all those DCs and instantly warm and dry again.
Yeah, well, we do have an Australia energy story later on to talk about how that may or may not be impacting the climate. I guess before we dive into the news, we should mention that we've got a busier event schedule coming up. I think we've both had, for different reasons, been Singapore bound over the last few weeks. But in September, I think you will be attending the Tech Capital's Asia Finance Forum in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. And I will be attending DCAC in Austin, Texas. And I think there's also the Women in Technology Forum crossover event with the Women in Data Centers group from Asia. That's also happening in Singapore, September 23rd, which I will be away for, but I guess you'll be supporting our colleagues in that.
Yes, I will be, and I've just realised that I've double booked myself at the APAC Finance Forum. Anyway, let's start with the news, shall we?
Let's start with the news. All right, so we want to go with CDC first then. This is the first big announcement that we've had in Perth, Western Australia. It's been a market that has been on many a slide deck over the last couple of years, lots of potential in terms of renewable energy, cable landing points, but never really the market demand for the capacity in there. It's a relatively small city as Perth, and it's quite remote. So CDC, bucking the trend, 200 megawatts. What's going on here?
Yeah, not a huge amount more to add to that. So yeah, as you mentioned, it's a 200 megawatt campus is what they're planning on building, about 20 kilometers southeast of Perth. Obviously building this out in phases. With the first phase, they didn't give a megawatt value against the first phase, but it was $270 million US. So I think you're probably talking first phase of 25 to 30 megawatts, I would have assumed, given those kind of numbers. Yeah, interesting. If built, it will be the first, I suppose, campus style development out there. So yeah, one definitely to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, we know who CDC's main customer is, and we know the rough size of those first AZ deployments. So that probably would make sense in the megawattage. So yeah, that's exciting news for Western Australia, and exciting expansion for CDC, who have been setting themselves the goal of, I think, doubling, or certainly Infratil in their latest papers have been saying they're going to be doubling the 300 odd megawatts that they had live, and more than that coming in the future pipeline. So yeah, often overlooked because as a more of a sort of single country kind of platform CEC, but enormous in their capacity relative to some others.
Yeah, no, they are big. They with the high level numbers they've got, I think 1.6 gigawatts either live or in the pipeline. A lot of that 1.6 number will be made up of a couple of their flagship new projects in Sydney and Melbourne, obviously, but it's still over 300 megawatts live, so they are a significant player, even though they're not that well known outside of Australia.
Yeah, another player who's not known to everyone, but a friend of the show and former guest on the show is Evolution Data Centers. So Darren Webb, maybe we'll see a rare smile from Darren after this news. So they have, they've got a new investor. So they, 02, which is the digital infrastructure arm of the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund. They have joined Darren's existing investor, Warburg Pincus, and the phrasing here was co-controlling position. So, feel free to speculate. Darren was very tight-lipped on the exact structure of this, but yeah, we can assume that there are now two main investors, so Warburg Pincus and 02 in Evolution. How are Evolution getting on with their sites, James?
Yeah, well, they've announced a number of sites. Obviously, they've announced a partnership in the Philippines, which is scalable to 69 megawatts, if I'm not mistaken. And then they've obviously got the Bangkok site under development, which if you go to the Evolution page, you'll see You'll see the kind of the progress pictures there. They post them up relatively frequently. That's, I want to say, 40-ish megawatts. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
52 is the website number.
52 is the website number. Okay, well, there you go. And they're also obviously they've got a keen interest in Vietnam as well. And I think Darren kind of let slip that they might be announcing something relatively soon in that market too. So yeah, congratulations to all involved. Anyone wondering who 02 are, as I was when it was announced, they're part of ADQ, which is basically one of Abu Dhabi's sovereign funds.
Yeah, so 02 was only formed a couple of years back as a specific digital infrastructure arm within ADQ, but they have already made a few. Well, they claim that they've made more than 550 megawatts of deployment in the Middle East, but it was very hard to find details to verify that. I guess it's all private money, so they don't really have to announce things, and it's not as if they're raising new capital from anywhere, so they probably don't need the marketing. Yeah, so it's a bit murky there, but yeah, ADQ is a pretty well-established and well-known entity investing in various different asset classes. So good to get some diversity in for their leadership. Another Thailand story. Should we go to ETIX Everywhere? This is the I always think of them as a French platform before they were acquired by Vantage, but ETIX Everywhere in Thailand has remained independent of that deal, and they have completed the core and shell of their 28 megawatt facility in Thailand, which is creatively known as BKK1.
Yeah, that's the first site. So that's the 5 megawatt site they acquired a number of years ago. Does have hyperscalers in there, but I guess you'd consider it generally kind of a retail facility. Yeah, so they've completed the core shell for BKK2, which is literally next door. This is 23 megawatts of additional capacity, and it's got all the latest and greatest and can facilitate up to 150 kW racks.
This is in the area of Bang Chalong, which is more central. This is not in the EEC, right? This is a Bangkok central kind of ish.
Slightly to the east, but yeah, absolutely more central than EEC. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, congratulations to the ETIX Everywhere team. I've got my stories out of order here. I had the finance ones next, which of course is what we do. Do Control S?
Yeah, launching new facility in Calcutta. So we reported on this. We've kind of been providing updates on this every kind of quarter or so, I guess, when there's been significant development. But this first 16 megawatts of that eventual 60 megawatt campus is now live. I think hats off to the team here, because I think they only announced the site in June 24. So in 16, 17 months or so, they've got this to an operational phase. So pretty quick development timeline there.
A PUE of 1.4 for those who still keep track of that particular metric. That's, I think, fairly good for India. As I understand, hot climate, it's quite hard to keep the numbers down to the requirements that you have in Singapore these days.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, it's similar climate to Singapore, kind of hot and sticky the whole time. So, yeah, well done on that.
Yeah, and then there's this new facility in. This is a new planned facility in Ho Chi Minh City. This is from Samsung C&T, which is the Samsung kind of EPC construction part of the organization, and CMC, which is one of the big local telcos, right?
Yeah, telco / DC operator, yeah. So there was obviously South Korea and Vietnam trade mission, because there was another smaller MOU signed as well. But the headline is, yes, Samsung and CMC have agreed apparently to build 130 megawatts in Ho Chi Minh, which is a big deal. Let's see how this comes to light, because that would be like pretty much double the capacity of the entire Vietnamese market, not just Ho Chi Minh. The first phase is slightly more measured, so $250 million investment into a 30 megawatt phase. Here, also LG signed an MOU with VNPT, who are, I guess, one of the other telcos there. No details on this, but that's again something which we may be reporting on down the line.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of big planned announcements in Vietnam. Interestingly, the scale have been announced by local telcos with partnerships, aside from, I think, NTT. But yeah, so shaping up to be an interesting market. There's still not much actually being built, but you never know. If all these capacity announcements come true, then it could be one that pops like Johor.
Yeah, so that's I'm actually going up to Vietnam next month, which is yeah, like I said, I've booked that trip over the tech capital one, so I'll see what I'll do with that. But yeah, it's an interesting market one. I'm looking forward to catching up on.
Well, James's diary planning aside, Vietnam does seem to be going pretty well. We've got a few Australian stories here. So let's
Before
start
we
with
move on to them, OpenDC also launched a new facility, pretty significant one, 30 megawatts or scalable to 30 megawatts up in Penang, which would be I would kind of
I
classify
am
that as
not
the first
keeping up with
major facility in Penang.
I'm not keeping up with the Penang market. So what do we know about this, James? Is there other facilities up there? This is a completely new
There's a
one.
handful, but all relatively small. So in the press release, OpenDC talk about this being the first kind of modern or basically accelerating industry 4.0 and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's the first significant one, I would say. So yeah, well done to everyone involved in that.
Yeah, I do know Penang is an area the Malaysian government have been really keen to promote development in around sort of Georgetown, but I didn't know again that there was much demand there. I suppose there's a hyperscale demand across Malaysia. If you can get the capacity somewhere that people can't, might be the logic for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, is the honest answer. I haven't spent too much time on Penang. Obviously, big semicon industry up there, but DC not so much. But anyway, let's see how that goes. We've got 3 minutes, so let's get through the rest of the stories.
So Australia, AWS has, the Victorian government have joined the Aussie whole of government agreement with AWS. As far as I could tell, this is giving the Victorian government entities under the state more access to AWS cloud, AI, and computing solutions, which presumably will justify Amazon's continued rampant spend in Victoria and Melbourne.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's a huge amount more than that. Like we reported 13 billion, I think that's US dollars, not Aussie dollars as well. Investment that AWS are putting in, I think this is just an extension of it, and this is just Victoria government basically using AWS.
Yeah, there was also the Australian Energy Market Authority, AEMO, has created a standalone category for data centers. They reckon that it's going to be using 2.2% of the total country's demand at the moment, which is pretty big considering Australia is a huge industrial base as a country anyway. Yeah, no actual specific numbers have come from that yet, but that's definitely one to watch for the future. Probably don't have time to talk about Dell's AI factories, so that's we'll skip that for another time. Someone can write in the comments about them. AirTrunk have got a green loan for their Singapore facility, $1.75 billion.
Yeah, SGP2, 70 megawatt facility, Loyang, they've got 1.75 billion green loan, like 20 plus banks or something involved in this in various capacities. So congrats, that will obviously help SGP2 get developed. Equinix, similar vein, they've announced 505 million USD worth of green bonds in Singapore. This is 9.5 billion globally, so they're doing a lot of this. Next DC, sounds like they've got more. I'm always kind of slightly cautious on talking about debt because I don't really understand it that well, but they've announced more debt. I think they've taken on 850 million USD to continue expansion across Australia. Now 20 sites across Australia, as per the report. So yeah, well done on that. STT potentially selling their stake in GDS. Lots to unpack there because obviously we reported on the KKR story a couple of weeks ago. And then finally, last piece to mention, New Zealand Spark, NZ Spark, Pacific Equity Partners are apparently going to take a significant chunk of their DC portfolio. I'm not sure if this is investing 417 million or valuing the business at 417 million, but anyway, that's happening as well.
There we go. Well, that's all we've got time for. If you were impacted by the Microsoft or Oracle layoffs, your companies are still spending on capacity, so I'm still interested in speaking to you and my contacts below.
Yeah, nice plug. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.